Hey boys and girls, here is a woven winter house project. We're going to start out this project by creating a landscape that's going to go behind our house. So think about a landscape. A landscape is anything that you see outside. So this one is a wintry landscape. So I'm creating a snowbank, a wavy line, and I'm just going to create some evergreen trees. Very simple, and keep in mind that part of your background is going to be covered up with the house that you're weaving. So you do not want to make it too detailed or too interesting because part of it's going to be covered up. So just some simple trees, some snow, some clouds. Keep it simple and don't make it too detailed. Once you have a drawing that you're happy with, go ahead and trace it with Sharpie or a black permanent marker. Now I'm going to use a white oil pastel just to fill in the places that I want to stay white on my painting, because I'm going to add some watercolor paint. So I am adding some white oil pastel on the clouds. I'm going to add a few snowflakes falling in the sky, some white on top of the trees where the snow would fall on the trees. You could even color in the snow that is the ground if you want to, or you can just leave that part of the paper white when you paint. And now I'm going to add some watercolor. Remember, the snow, the ground is snow, so I'm not going to touch that with my watercolor. I am going to paint over my sky. So I added some white oil pastel that is the snowflakes, and I'm going to make sure I have plenty of water so that it spreads that oil pastel, or it spreads the watercolor out and it doesn't cover up my oil pastel. This is called oil pastel resist. It means that the oil pastel is not allowing the watercolor paint to stick to it. So I'm going to paint my sky with just some blues. And remember, as I am painting, I can go right on top of those clouds because I colored them in with the white oil pastel. And I can also go right on top of any other area where I colored it in completely. I will remember to keep my trees. I'm going to paint those, a green color. And I'm going to leave the white on the ground just as it is because I did not add any oil pastel to the snow that's on my ground in my picture. Now, while my painting is drying, I'm going to get 2 pieces of paper. These are going to be my woven house. I'm going to weave them together to make my house. The first step that I'm going to do is fold one piece in half. I have to make a loom out of this, so I'm folding it in half. And on the side that is open, I am going to draw a straight line. This straight line is going to be my stop line. So as I draw that straight line, I even am going to write the words stop to remind myself not to go past that line. It is like a stop sign for me. I am going to use this as I cut my loom strips so that I don't cut my loom into a million pieces. That would be really sad. So this is my stop line. I will stop when I get to this line. Okay, I also need some straight lines. Now you can use a ruler to do these or just draw them. You will need about 5 lines. It may be 6, but probably 5 lines. All right, now I'm going to cut starting on the fold. I'm cutting both parts of my paper. Remember, it's folded in half. I'm going to cut almost to the top, and then I'm going to stop at the stop line. Cut almost to the top, and then I'm going to stop. And I'm going to continue that and repeat it until I cut each of my lines. When I'm done cutting, I can unfold my paper and it will look like a loom. That's what this is. The sides will not be cut off if you followed those directions and you did not cut past the stop line. And also, you will be able to weave in and out of this paper. Okay, now I have to make the strips with my other sheet of paper, so I am going to draw straight lines. Again, you can use a ruler to make your lines a little straighter, but I'm going from the top of my paper all the way to the bottom, and notice that my paper right now is laying horizontally. It's laying like a placemat. It's sideways, and I am cutting my strips that way. Now, once you have your lines, now don't make your lines too skinny. You should not have more than 7 or 8 strips out of your paper. If your lines are too skinny, your strips are too skinny, it'll be a lot harder to weave. So I have each of my lines I'm going to cut on so that I cut that strip of paper out. I'm going to cut it and then lay it to the side. When you get all of your strips cut, then it is time to start weaving. The pattern that you have to remember with weaving is over, under, over, under. Over your loom, under your loom. I can do this with my fingers to practice even. Over, under, over, under. So I'm going to start with my first strip, and I'm going to start out going over the first strip, under the second, over the third. You just kind of have to work it in there. Under the fourth, over, under. You follow that pattern no matter what. Now, for the second strip, if I started going over on my first strip, on my second strip, I have to start out going under, over, under, over, under, over, under, over. Once I get a strip all the way through, then I'm going to kind of tuck it down next to its friend, which is next door. I want you to tuck it and push it as far down as you can, or as close to the other strips that you can. This will help to keep them in place. For my third strip, I started out going over there, so now I'm going to go under, over, under, over. And then I'm going to push my strips down to tuck them in. Now that is all the strips that are going to fit into my loom. So since I have them all tucked in nicely and the pattern is correct, it looks like a checkerboard, I'm going to glue down the ends of my strips just to kind of hold it all in place. I'm going to do that on both sides with a glue stick, and if any of your strips fall out, go ahead and just tuck them back into the right place and glue them down. Alright, now I'm going to get out my background painting. It should be nice and dry now. I'm going to take this and lay it on top and decide kind of where I want my house to be. This woven piece of paper is going to be our house, and then we're going to add the other details of the house. But if it's covering up a part of your background painting and you want to move it just a little bit to the side, that's totally fine. Now that I decided where I want it to be, I'm going to decide what I want to make my roof, what color. So I've picked a purple piece of paper. There will be lots of different scrap papers that you can choose from. I'm going to draw a triangle for my roof. Your roof could be a different shape if you would like it to be. And I'm going to cut out that shape. And once I cut it out, I'm going to glue it down after I see where I want it to be. I might have to move it around or fold some pieces under if I need to. So I have decided where I want it to be, and one line will do just fine with a glue stick. I'm going to put it down, press it down, and then I'm also going to go ahead and glue down the weaving of my house. All right, and voila, it's time to start adding the other details of my house. So I have a roof. What about windows and doors? What are other architectural details that you could add to your house? All right, I'm going to add some windows, and I've got this piece of painted paper that I have. I'm going to draw them out first with a pencil. Draw just lightly until you get it right. And notice that I'm drawing on the edge of my paper, not right in the middle. That means that I can use this paper again later if I want to. So I'm not going to draw it right in the middle. After I draw my shape, then I'm going to trace with a Sharpie. And I've actually decided to make these shutters. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut these out. All right, now I'm going to take my shutters and put them on top of a yellow piece of paper and trace them. And I'm going to cut out those yellow squares. I'm going to go ahead and glue down the yellow squares. This is going to be like the light coming through my windows. And I'm going to go ahead and draw a window, like a window pane. This is just to show that these are the windows. Now I'm going to take my shutters and I'm actually going to fold back just a little piece of them, and that's so that I can glue it down and make it where it will open. So I fold down just a little part of that and glue it down. Hold it for a few seconds to give it some stick time, and open it and close it and fold it. That way it will stick really nicely and you can open and close the shutters on your windows. This is just a cool detail and something extra you can do to make it a more homey home. Now that I have my windows done, I am going to create a door. I'm just going to draw this on a corner of my paper again. Remember to, when you're drawing things out to cut out, to put it at the edge of the paper so you can use the paper again if you need to later. I'm going to go ahead and cut this out and see if it fits on my house. Ooh, I made it just a little bit too tall, so I'm going to cut off just a little bit. And again, with this door, I could make it so that it opens. Just fold a little part of it and only glue that part on with a glue stick, and then glue that down. Give it some stick time, so hold it down nice and tight, and it will make it where the door will open. So I could put, a person behind the door if you wanted to, or get really creative with that. You can also just go ahead and glue your door down if you don't want it to open and close. Both of those are fine. Now, what other details can you add? I'm going to add some lines on the roof. What about snowflakes? What about a mailbox? What about a fence? There are a lot of different things that you can add to make this look like a cozy winter home that is inspired by you, the artist. So I can't wait to see what you create, guys. Have fun.